morning on a Wednesday evening here on VSiN PrimeTime alongside Clipper fan extraordinaire, Jonathan Von Tobel. I am Tim Murray. How you feeling? Good?
I'm good.
Ooh.
Ask me again in like 7:10, 7:15.
That is, yikes. That makes me a little nervous there. Los Angeles Clippers back at it tonight.
What makes you nervous?
You, that response.
What do you mean?
Believe in your squad.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like right now, I'm good. But ask me again in like once the game starts.
It wasn't last week when you were winking at the camera. Don't let them win this game.
Well, I mean, I said don't let them win the series is what I said. So don't twist the words there.
I'll twist your words.
But it's easy to be excited that the Clippers have tied this series against all odds against the reincarnation of the 2017 Warriors. So really pulling for this game back at home. As such large underdogs with no talent in any way, shape, or form.
They were the favorite to win the series.
Who?
The Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking
about the Clippers. Yeah. I was like, yeah, come on, stick with the bit. By the way, everything's coming up Clippers. Luka Doncic telling the media today that he's sick and that if it was a regular season game, he wouldn't even play. So, everything's just setting up for the Los Angeles Clippers, it looks like. Those plucky underdogs that had no shot.
No Kawhi Leonard tonight, but you knew that already. 2 games this evening in the NBA. Miami at Boston. We're seeing the total on the rise, and I saw someone on a website called VSiN.com say you should play the over in this game at 200, and it is now out to 202, so bring out the sharp card to you. Doesn't even matter what the result is.
Well,
closing line value, baby.
So as we discussed this, Celtics are laying 14, total of 201. I'm going to quiz you. You said you read the article.
Yes.
What did I note in the article about this total for this series?
That game 1 was 210?
Yeah, well, but that in 3 of the 4 games, the market has bet these games over.
Yeah.
and the games have gone under in 3 of the 4 games. So
it's all about CLV, baby.
Well, it is, but what's going to be interesting is, and this is, I think...
And the lone, also you noted, the lone game that went over was the game in which Miami shot, 60% from 3?
Yeah, 53.5%. But this is, I think, and this is why I wrote about this today, this is the fascinating part about a game that seems all but decided. We are pretty certain that the Celtics are going to win this game. Cover, another thing. But when you have a series like this that has been so low scoring, that has been very slow paced in the 2 games in Miami, well under 90 possessions in the 2 games in Miami, just over that with the 2 games in Boston. But the market has, for every game but one, bet these games over. It's bet them over each time. The total is closed higher than than the opening total in each of these games, but the one that went over. And yet here we are now again, and each time the market has moved to the over, the market has been burned. Those games have gone under by a decent margin. We're talking about 18, 16, and 2 points. So it's going to be pretty interesting. And as I put it, was like, I'm ready to get hurt again because last Saturday I played it over, went under. But with Boston back at home, we'll see if this is the case. But at the very least, market agrees. We saw this open 199.5 at some spots. We are up, as you mentioned, to 202.5 at a couple of places. So we'll see how high it gets. But here we go again.
Game 1, 210 was the total. Landed 208, 114.94 Boston victory. Game 2, the only game that went over, as JVT noted, 205.5 was the closing number there. Landed 212, 111, 101 Miami victory. The 2 games in Miami, 206 and 205 were the totals. 104.84, that would be 188 points in Game 3. 102.88, 190 points in Game 4. Of course, no Kristaps Porzingis, no Jimmy Butler, no Jaime Jaquez. The Miami Heat are limping towards the finish line as we have a total of 202. And DraftKings actually 201. If you do want to jump in on the over and get some CLV, DraftKings does have the best number out there if you like the over.
I will say, and I think Zach Cohen wrote this up on the website, this is the way I think maybe, I'll probably get burned again today, but Zach did, I think, what the smart thing is here potentially.
Team total?
Yeah, so the reason why the other 2 games have gone under is because Miami did not, or the other 3 games, is that Miami didn't really hold up their end of the bargain. The only game which they held their end of the bargain up is the game that went over the total. They shot over 50% from 3. But these other games, the big reason why they didn't is because Miami was awful on offense. So on the road, missing Jaime Jaquez, a little beat up. Is this going to happen again where Boston comes out, does what it needs to do, but this game still stays under because you're only getting about 80-ish points from the Miami Heat? That is obviously part of the worry. I also think you're expecting Boston Celtics in the friendly confines, right, of TD Garden, that they're going to be able to perform a little bit better very quietly in the 2 games in Miami. Tim, they shot 33% from 3 across the 2 games. Now, one of them was really sinking. The percentage really sunk by the 29% shooting performance they had, I believe, in Game 3, the game that I had over and went under. So I think that maybe, like, Boston's offense is going to get a little bit better just in familiar shooting lines, of course, here in their own arena. And, as I kind of noted, look, most used lineup without Kristaps Porzingis this year is actually not that good defensively for the Boston Celtics. It's got a defense rating of about 117, 118. So marginally worse defense. Maybe you get a little bit better performance out of Miami. All of those sort of things kind of coming together. And again, as you mentioned, we were as high in one book at 211.5 for Game 1 of this series. Now, as I brought it up, bet it over 200, open 199.5, still sitting at about 201, 202. Very big change. So.
Once again,
one more time.
Mentioned it before. Jimmy Butler, many of you knew that by now. He's out.
What?
Jaime Jaquez is out. And Terry Rozier out for the Miami Heat. Kristaps Porzingis not going to go for the Celtics and out likely a couple of weeks. The evening affair, the one that JVT is going to be glued to the television set to watch. He watches all these games. But Dallas, L.A., the Clippers right now, a 2.5 or 3-point underdog, depending on what book you look at. We saw early under money come in, push this down to 208.5. I saw 208 out there. Some late-ish over money coming in. Now we're at 209, 208.5. My initial thought was under. We can get into that as the show goes on. By the way, Law Murray going to join us here in about 7 minutes. I'll give it about 8 minutes to break down this game. He covers the Clippers for The Athletic, so he will be joining us here in just a little bit.
Yes. Now, look, this has just been a tight series. Through 2 games, not surprising. It is 2-2. If you look at it from a net rating standpoint, the Mavericks have a plus 0.9 net rating, or have outscored the Clippers over these 4 games by just 0.9 points every 100 possessions. If you look at it from a pure points standpoint, Clippers are just plus 3 for the series. Now, the big deal is that with Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving on the floor, Mavericks plus 31. Very good. Problem, anytime you split them up, they're minus 34. So the Clippers have really taken advantage of these non-Luka and or non-Kyrie minutes, and that's really where they've made their hay. They've also made their hay, Tim, obviously with shooting. We were talking about in the 2 wins for the Los Angeles Clippers, an offensive rating of 121.7, a shooting percentage of 55.4% from deep. Like, that has been the nature of this series for these teams. And the Mavericks, they have not gotten it together on offense. That's kind of been the consistent. Like, if you're looking for one consistent thing throughout the series, I think there's 2. But the one is the Mavericks offense, and whether or not you want to give the Clippers credit defensively, it's been consistent. The Mavericks have been very inconsistent, right, with their offense. Luka Doncic himself not playing particularly well. On the surface, you're like, dude, 29, 9.8, and 8.5 assists. Like, he's averaging a near 30-point triple-double. What's the problem? He's shooting just about 40% from the floor and under 30% from 3. They've done a pretty good job defensively against Luka Doncic, making him uncomfortable. Terrence Mann has done a good job as a primary defender. And on the other side, the only consistent has been the Clippers get nothing at the basket. They are getting nothing within 4 feet. It's been part of the reason why they're so dependent on their three-point shooting. What changes here in this matchup back at home? I think that's the big thing. If you're watching this and you start to see that the Clippers are figuring out how to get within 4 feet of the basket and they're finishing at the rim with some consistency, then this is going to be a matchup that I think bodes well for Los Angeles. But if it's another one of those things where they can't get inside Tim and they can't finish at the rim outside of Ivica Zubac, then it's going to be another one of those clunkers where you just got to hope you start hitting some of these perimeter shots. But either way, tight series. This got endgame written all over it, I think. Like, you're going to get a pretty good number, I think, no matter what side you like coming into this game.
Yeah, right now, once again, sitting 2.5 or 3, depending on what shop you're looking at. 3 currently at DraftKings, and they are at 209 for the total. 2 games on the ice tonight after 4 last evening, and we have the Vegas Golden Knights and the Dallas Stars coming up at 7:30 Eastern, and then the LA Kings and the Edmonton Oilers as the Oilers look to close up the Kings tonight in Edmonton. But interesting note regarding this game, we're going to talk to Jesse Granger, who covers the Golden Knights later on this hour. We've seen a change at goalie in this one. Logan Thompson, who clearly it was his fault, as Todd Furman pointed out, second best goals saved above expected this postseason. Logan Thompson, and he has been benched. Aiden Hill comes in for the start here in Game 5 after the Golden Knights dropped Games 3 and 4 at home. And from my novice eye, JVT, the only reason the Golden Knights even went to overtime in Game 3 was because of Logan Thompson. But, hey, go ahead and make your change.
Yeah, look, there's a couple of things here. So I wouldn't lose the side of this. So like you mentioned, Aiden Hill's going to get the start. He has not started a game, let's see, since April 18th, since March 1st, just 10 games, a 351 goals against and an 871 save percentage. Not very good. But that's not where Bruce Cassidy is stopping here. He's actually blown up like almost every single one of his lines. They have shifted everything the Vegas Golden Knights have coming into this game. So I can't wait to talk to Jesse because not only do you have a guy in net who has not played in a long time, and last time we saw him wasn't playing particularly well, but you also get
last game was against Anaheim when they lost, right? The regular season finale.
What's that? Aiden Hill?
Yeah, Aiden Hill.
He hasn't started consistently, for a while. So when you look at that, the fact that you front-loaded your best line, so you have like your best forwards in one line and then questionable depth everywhere else, it's going to be fascinating to see what this means for Vegas as I think some of the moves smack of desperation. I mean, it's only 2-2, and you're going back to a spot where you won both games. But I am not a hockey coach, so we'll see if what Cassidy does here makes sense.
Market betting Vegas a little bit though. It opened -160 in favor of Dallas. Depending on where you look, -145 at one shop here. Granted, it is in town, so might be more public money coming in on the Vegas Golden Knights. But you're looking around a -155. Or so price. So busy show for you with 2 games on the NHL playoffs, 2 games in the NBA playoffs, including late night tonight. JVTs love the Los Angeles Clippers. Can they take a 3-2 lead and win again without Kawhi Leonard? Law Murray, who covers the Los Angeles Clippers, he joins us next. It is VSiN Primetime.
This is VSiN Primetime with Tim Murray and Jonathan Von Tobel on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Are you ready to become your own sports betting expert? Look no further than a VSiN Pro subscription. Your ticket to insider insights, exclusive data, and winning strategies. Limited time only. We're offering our annual subscription at an unbeatable price, normally priced at $240. You can now grab your subscription for $199. Sign up today. We'll also give you an extra 2 months free, right? 14 months of a VSiN Pro Access subscription, less than 50 cents a day when you use promo code PRIME, PRIME. Check it out now. You're going to get access to everything we do, daily best bets leaderboard, our live programming, betting systems from professional handicappers, and more. Check it out now, VSiN.com/subscribe. Promo code PRIME, 14 months for only $199.
That's Jonathan Von Tobel. I'm Tim Murray. 2 NBA games on the playoff schedule tonight. Hopefully they can compare to what we saw at Madison Square Garden with the craziness in that one. But Dallas and LA has been very intriguing so far. 4 games in, 2 up for Dallas, 2 up for the Clippers, and both victories for the Clippers coming without Kawhi Leonard, who will once again be sidelined tonight. And to help us break it down, we head to our progressive guest line, and we bring in Law Murray, who covers the Clippers for The Athletic. And Law, no Kawhi Leonard tonight. I'll let you and JVT get into the minutia, the X's and O's, but how has, in your opinion, the Clippers figured out a way? Their 2 wins have come without Kawhi Leonard in this series, and they're going to have to do it again tonight.
Yeah, and a big key to that has been how well they've shot the 3 ball. And it starts with your stars. They still have stars left. And Paul George, you saw in Game 4, the 6 threes that he made early helped build the big lead. But the 1 3 that he made after halftime, it came after the Dallas Mavericks erased a 31-point lead. And, everybody was firing up their tweets about the largest blown lead, the largest comeback in postseason history. And after Paul hit that incredibly difficult 3-pointer in the corner, it erased that talk. But the real revelation in this series when it comes to the shooting has been James Harden. What he's been able to do on the bounce. He's leading the Clippers in scoring for this entire postseason run through 4 games. And his ability to create his own threes, create threes for his teammates, or when he's off the ball, he's getting it back and he's catching and shooting much more comfortably than his first week with the Clippers. That's been huge. That has to continue because I'm not sure the Clippers have done a whole lot more well offensively in the games that they've won in this series without Kawhi Leonard. Like, they can be much better in the paint, getting to the paint, protecting the basketball. The Mavericks have gotten themselves back into these games that the Clippers ultimately won because the Clippers offenses hit extended dry spells. When the Mavericks have beaten the Clippers outright, it's because the Clippers offenses failed, even with Kawhi on the floor. So this is a best of three. We're all going to be looking at the three-point shooting, especially from the stars. But the Clippers, I feel like, have another level to get to as far as offensive efficiency.
Yeah, for me specifically, you mentioned the three-point shooting. I'm very curious to see how do they address, and have you talked to them about getting to the paint a little bit more? Only 50% at the rim in terms of shooting percentage, less than 30 per shots at the rim. It's been like a wall, but they haven't really done a ton. Have they addressed that at all in terms of what they want to do to kind of crack through that?
I think you got to play faster. I think you got to give the Dallas Mavericks a ton of credit. They were already extremely good in terms of keeping opponents out of the paint over the last quarter of the NBA season. And what happens in the playoffs, there's more physicality that's permitted, and Dallas is taking advantage of that. They've gotten into James's body. They've gotten into any of the drivers and made things difficult. Paul George not being on the floor because of foul trouble, or being on the floor and being hesitant with his drives because of perceived, not getting calls, not drawing enough fouls. That's been a detriment to the Clippers offense. But I think the Clippers did some things differently in Game 4 to free Paul George up. And the first thing he did in that game, before any of the threes Paul George made, the Clippers drew something up, getting Paul George to the basket. If you hoop, you get a layup going, you get something easy, something open, that opens things up. I don't care what level of player, caliber, pedigree you have. When you get something easy, that your confidence benefits from that, and it can last for quarters at a time. So that's something where, again, can you carry it over? Dallas made an adjustment during the game in Game 4. So the last time Dallas has had to make in-game adjustments after they lost, they were able to carry it over to the next games. The Clippers obviously can't afford that. They need to be better and more consistent from the jump throughout the game, and we'll see who wins the chess match, not just tonight, but going forward in this series.
The other thing I've been kind of harping on with Tim here is defensively, I feel like the Clippers deserve a little bit of credit for how they've played here this series. It's been somewhat consistent. Now, Luka Doncic hasn't played well, but I feel like part of it is Terrence Mann, the way they've defended him. What have they done against Luka to cause him to struggle a little bit with his accuracy?
I think you just got to be attentive to what Luka likes to do. Like, Luka is an on-ball presence. I mean, the best in the league in terms of the pull-up three, the step-back three. Well, for one, it helps when you practice every day with the originator of that, James Harden. And so they are familiar with what Luka likes to do. This goes back several playoff series. This goes to playing him multiple times a season. And the Clippers, the guard that is cooking them is Kyrie Irving, because he's a smaller guard. He's quicker. He's more decisive, getting to his spots. Kyrie knows what he wants to do. Kyrie's issue is that he's deferring to Luka, because Luka is the start of everything that Dallas does offensively. And so there's a comfort level in guarding a player like Luka, because he has the ball. He's a big target. You can hit him, okay? You can be physical with him. He's going to draw a ton of fouls, but you can hit Luka Doncic. And that's when Luka's 100% physically. I'm not sure that's the case right now. And the Clippers are going to go at him, tire him out. Luka has been really good defensively in this series, but Game 4, when he started, the knee issues started to really be a factor. He was listed as questionable. The defense fell off a bit as well. So I think Luka, he's so big and skilled that even if he's out there, he can get certain things to go well for him. He's such a smart player. He knows where he wants to go with the basketball, even as a passer. But the big question is his jump shot. And when you get hit, the physicality wears on you, and the thing that you start seeing slip is that shooting efficiency.
Law Murray joining us here on VSiN PrimeTime. He covers the Los Angeles Clippers for The Athletic. You mentioned it in your first answer, Law. Let's circle back to the three-point shooting, because I don't want to keep it too simple, but when you look at the two victories that the Clippers have had this series, 18 of 36 from three in Game 1, victory. 18 of 29 from three against Dallas Game 4, victory. In the two losses, 8 of 30, 10 of 29. Is it as simple to say, you're hitting your threes, Clippers win, they struggle from long range, they're probably going to lose?
I think it is that simple. And the thing that you have to look at is the Clippers are, for the entire series, the wins and the losses, they're shooting 44% from three. Obviously, that's buoyed by how well they shot in the wins. But the issue that anyone should have if you're following the Clippers is they're not getting enough attempts up, even in the wins. I mean, 31 attempts per game when you're shooting that well. I mean, some of that speaks to how slow the series is, but there have been those pockets where the Clippers don't get enough attempts up, and that's an issue for the Clippers. How do you get more attempts up? How do you get and it's not just a pace thing. It's just offensive efficiency. It's shot selection. How can you get more attempts up against a team that is already taking the paint away from you? One, you take care of the basketball, because if you take care of the basketball, you have opportunities to get any shot on goal. And then two, the spacing. If the Clippers have the floor spaced the right way, then that's what opens up guys being in the right spots when the ball does get into the paint, where the defense collapses even more and you can have the corner three open up. So it is going to be that simple. Like, Dallas can't take everything away. And if Dallas is going to over-prioritize the three, which is not really what they do as a defense, they're best when they take the paint away. But if they're going to stretch out, that's going to open up a whole lot of things, both for the stars and the role players.
All right, we got about 90 seconds left with you. I'll ask just simply, did James Harden break anything for them defensively when he ate them up in that fourth quarter when they were spacing them out?
I'll tell you what, the float game, I wrote about it today. That is something that Dallas wants to give up, and that's the smart thing to do if you're looking at the analytics. You know, you don't want to give up layups because of the efficiency rate is too high. You don't want to foul, put guys on the free throw line because obviously that limits things on both ends. And you don't want to give up threes because it's worth an extra point. You want to give up mid-range shots. You want to give up that floater range because you only make about 40 to 45% of those compared to the mid-60s if you get all the way to the rim. Dallas is going to basically, it's a dare shot. It's a dare shot. Do it again, James Harden. And we're going to see if James can not just get there to do it consistently, but to have the success in it going in like he did in Game 4, especially late.
Who wins tonight, Law?
The Clippers are at home. I feel like they've got the momentum. They know what to do. And if they lose tonight, that might be it for them at home. I think they will take a 3-2 series lead.
Law, great stuff, man. Appreciate it, and enjoy the game tonight.
Thank you. You as well.
There he is. Law Murray covers the Los Angeles Clippers, joining us on our progressive guest line. That game will tip off around 7 o'clock Pacific time, 10 o'clock Eastern in L.A.
I won't enjoy the game, by the way. It's a very stressful experience until the game's actually over. So.
What's your Twitter avatar right now?
Come on, man, Paul George.
Kind of game is Paul George going to have tonight? 2 NBA games, 2 NHL games, a lot of day baseball. So we'll see if anything pops on JVT's card. Our best bets for tonight. That's coming up next right here on VSiN Primetime.
This is VSiN Primetime with Tim Murray and Jonathan Von Tobel on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
VSiN.com, it's your home to get ready for the Kentucky Derby. A lot of great articles up there navigating trifecta and superfecta bets in horse racing. One of the many articles up on the site at VSiN.com. And look, man, we've got a lot of sports going on. You want to get ready? Well, guess what? WNBA team predictions from Tyler Shoemaker, as well as articles on the NBA, Major League Baseball, and more. Check it out, VSiN.com. And if you sign up, tell you what, we'll give you 14 months for the price of a full year.
Woo.
Just sign up with the promo code PRIME, PRIME, VSiN.com/subscribe.
Now that is a deal. We are here at the Circus Sportsbook in downtown Las Vegas, Nevada. That is Jonathan Von Tobel. I am Tim Murray. Thanks to Law Murray for giving us his insight on tonight's Dallas-LA game, Game 5 between the Mavs and the Clippers. And I told you last night, Sixers are never out until the clock hits triple zeros, JVT. I told you that was going to happen. You didn't believe me. And look what happens. You know, so
Michael Lombardi told me that too. He said, don't stop believing, John. Just like him. He believed the whole way.
By the way, you were saying it before the show. We kid because we care. If the Sixers win this series, they're going to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah. It would be Philadelphia 76er superfan Michael Lombardi's worst nightmare. If they won this series and made it to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Man, I can't wait for that.
No Kristaps Porzingis. I'm just telling you, man. Things can get crazy here.
Well, the injury that has held Giannis out for almost 3 full weeks.
It's been 3. It's been 22 days,
right?
Yeah.
And he, even though Doc Rivers said, I think very, very, very close, dropped the 3 varies yesterday. I'll believe it when I see it.
I mean, I do root for like ultimate chaos, which would be
if they return,
the Bucks pull this series out against the Pacers, who won't defend a 4th grade team. Then all of a sudden, you make it to the next round, and okay, Giannis is back, and you're getting whoever's coming out of this New York Philly series, and it's 1-1, right? Oh, by the way, here comes Damian Lillard now. And all of a sudden we're in a 1-1 series and it's whoever, Philly or New York, and the Bucks are at full strength. And the chaos scenario could be closer than we think it is. So I'm very much rooting for that chaos, because for a minute there, it looked like the Eastern Conference was just going to be like, all right, wake me up when Boston wins this thing, And that doesn't seem to be the case anymore, given what we have seen develop over the last 24 to 48 hours.
Philadelphia pulls one out last night. Now, you could argue that it's even now because of Game 2 and how that finished out. But regardless, we sit in that series 3-2. The Sixers are a favorite at home come tomorrow night. Right now, a 3-point favorite. And Indiana, who, as you alluded to, let's just say not the most defensively sound team in the history of the world, as Bobby Portis had 29 points last night. Chris Middleton chipped in with 29 as well. That game's sitting at 8 right now. Early movement came in on Milwaukee, and now we're starting to see some late movement back on Indiana, but still plenty of time for that to move itself out.
And look, I very much like analytics numbers, things like that, as we've kind of made it known, of course, but there are some times where scenarios do seem to really just play through. We mentioned, right, the Tampa Bay Lightning saying, no, we've won a lot of Stanley Cups. We're not going down in the sweep. And then they go off and die quietly in Florida. This one seemed to be pretty similar, right, which is team down 3-1, but still the guys who have won a championship on this squad against a lesser defensive team that hasn't been here before. We're going to win this one at the very least in front of our home crowd and kind of teach these snot-nosed brats no, this is basketball. This is playoff basketball. And by the way, we actually pushed them pretty hard without Bobby Portis over the weekend.
Yep.
And then sure enough, they get that win the way they do. Offensive rating of 131.4 in non-garbage time last night against the Pacers. And now you're going back to Indiana with some real questions as to how you're going to be able to defend, as you've always had to. This series obviously is not done yet, but I would not be counting my money at all if you had something with the Indiana Pacers and still alive in even money. Milwaukee Bucks to win the series. Let's do it.
Well, and I have a vision tonight, and hopefully it doesn't come to fruition, of what Tracy Morgan was doing last night, that being JVT at the screen tonight when it comes to this Dallas Los Angeles Clippers game.
I'll be in public.
So is Tracy Morgan. I'm just pointing that out.
I'm also not rich.
Yeah, I think you could put up that digit. You don't have to be rich, from what I've been told. All right, let's get to it. Our best bets for tonight.
I see you using it old style.
I'm giving you the keys to the kingdom.
Putting our money where our mouth is.
I like to live dangerously.
It's time for Best Bets.
Come on, Jerry, it's a lock.
All right, 2 games tonight on the NBA hardwood, 2 games on the ice tonight. By the way, if you're wondering, we will have a preview for Vegas and Dallas, which will get underway at 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central, down in Dallas tonight. The late night game is in Edmonton as the Oilers look to close off against the Los Angeles Kings. Edmonton consensus -$2 favorite. If you do like the Oilers, looks like you can find a -190 out there. Total of 6 juiced over in that one for the total. And then Vegas and Dallas with the goalie change right now. Dallas we'll call it a -155 favorite with a total of 5.5 juiced over as well. Aiden Hill starting in net for the Golden Knights. More on that game with Jesse Granger coming up in about 10 minutes. Well, let's get to your best bet for tonight, Mr. Von Tobel. You wrote one up on the website. As always, check it out, VSiN.com. However, that line has moved. That was the total of Miami and Boston, which now circa shows 202.5. Yeah. So it continues to move up in that total. And then Dallas and the Clippers late night. What do you got for us tonight?
Yeah, so no point giving that one out. Sailed by. But we'll do it. I mean, look, the Clippers are going to win this game. Let's do it. Clippers money line, plus 125. I believe in this team. I think defensively they have been very consistent. They've thrown Dallas many different defensive schemes, and they've worked for the most part. The Dallas Mavericks have not been great on offense throughout this entire series. The team that has had the two big spikes in offensive efficiency have been the Los Angeles Clippers. So a team that wants to put up three-point shots, going back home to some familiar sight lines, playing against a team whose superstar is not only dealing with a knee injury, that's not the alleged part, he is dealing with a knee injury, is allegedly sick, and as he told the media, he wouldn't play today if it was a regular season game. Sandbagging, of course. I'm sure he's going to have a 45-point triple-double on like 60% shooting. But regardless, I do have faith that this Clippers team has the weapons they can. They are a good three-point shooting team. They've got the wing defenders. They've got guys they feel comfortable with on Luka Doncic. They have centers that if they want to use Ivica Zubac, they should a little bit more to kind of crack this paint defense has been a little bit of a problem. And very quietly in that fourth quarter, Tim, as I kind of asked Law Murray about, James Harden broke their little small ball lineup that they've been using pretty effectively. Got after P.J. Washington, got to his left hand, got a floater. Went after Luka Doncic, got to his left hand, got a floater. I think that this is going to be something where you go back home, you take care of business. I don't know about the series, obviously, but I would agree with Law as we talked about. I think the Clippers win. They take a 3-2 series lead back to Dallas.
And as you said in your write-up, this should be, if you don't want to get involved now, a very good in-game trading type of spot.
Yeah, I think so. Like this is, especially when you get the fickle nature of three-point shooting, right, where teams get hot, hit a bunch of threes at once, whatever it is. It's a low-paced game or slow-paced game and a slow-paced series and a low total, but I think you're still going to be able to get some pretty good opportunities here. And a charged environment going back home. And so, like, if you like the Mavericks, for example, Clippers come out, they go up like 9-0 really quickly. You're going to be able to get a much better number. We talked about this yesterday, right? How many minutes were we into 76ers Knicks?
The first media timeout, you could have got the Knicks, which ultimately didn't work out.
Right.
But you could have got the Knicks as a dog at the first media timeout.
But the premise still stands.
Yeah.
First time out, you're talking about the team that was favored is already an underdog. So it stands a reason that it's going to be a pretty big opportunity coming back home that could be the case here too.
And certainly same situation for my best bet, which is you could probably play this in-game, but guess what? We're doing a betting show, and the game doesn't start till 7 o'clock Pacific time. But I think under is the look for me in this one. You mentioned it. It's been a slow-paced series. I do anticipate some sort of regression. It's been interesting when you look at the two games that the Clippers have lost in this series. We talked about this with Law. 8 threes, 10 threes made for the Clippers. The two victories, they had 18 in both of those. But I thought it was interesting what Law pointed out, I think you've mentioned this as well, JVT, is that it hasn't been a volume of threes. Overall, the Mavericks have been guarding that three-point line pretty well. So I expect this to continue to be a slower-paced game like it has been most of the series. Maybe a little bit of a step back for the Clippers from a production standpoint outside the arc. And lastly, we'll see what Luka Doncic has in the tank. Kyrie was absolutely phenomenal in Game 4. Certainly that makes me nervous, but I'm going to go under 209. Starting to see a little resistance in the market, as I mentioned. It went down to 208, 208.5. Starting to see a little bump back here, so we'll see where this number ultimately closes. But I'll take some under 209 here.
And if for people who like weird cherry-picked stats, I got one for you.
Does it help out my bet?
No, it doesn't actually. Well, I mean, it doesn't really. No, it doesn't. The last 9 Game 5 performances for Paul George, he has scored under 30 points just twice. He has been a gamer in Game 5, so whatever that's worth. Last time he was in a Game 5 on the road against Phoenix Suns, the year they went to the Western Conference Finals, 41 points for PG. So we'll see if he maybe shows up again here.
Well, looking up his player points for tonight, Paul George over-under on points is 24.5.
There you go.
So cherry picking stat, Game 5.
I'll take 37 or 41 points. I mean, LeBron stuck to his elimination game. He was awesome. He's always awesome in those games.
Averaged, 33 points per game in eliminations and had 30 in the loss to the Denver Nuggets. A change in goal for the Vegas Golden Knights. Will that lead to victory? We'll head to Dallas next to get you a preview of Stars Golden Knights.
This is VSiN PrimeTime with Tim Murray and Jonathan Von Tobel on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
It's Kentucky Derby time, folks. Get ready for the greatest 2 minutes in sports. Saddle up with DK Horse, an official DraftKings affiliate. Right now, new customers who download the DK Horse app can get a 100% deposit bonus up to $250 when they opt in with the code VSiN Horse, all one word. Just deposit $25 or more. Complete the playthrough requirement. Download DK Horse now to join the Run for the Roses action only on the DK Horse app.
We keep it rolling here on VSiN PrimeTime. By the way, every first hour of the program, you could always stream for free on YouTube, youtube.com/VSiN Live. That is Jonathan Von Tobel. I am Tim Murray, a gentleman who normally is in Las Vegas, but he's on the road right now because the Vegas Golden Knights are in Dallas. Early start time, a 6:30 Central local time down there in Dallas, 4:30 for us here in Las Vegas as the Golden Knights take on the Dallas Stars. And we bring in, courtesy of the Progressive Guest Line, Jesse Granger, who covers the Golden Knights for The Athletic, who is down there in Dallas. The big question, surprise, is that it is not going to be Logan Thompson, who stood on his head in Game 3, but instead Adin Hill. Jesse, how big of a surprise was this to you when Bruce Cassidy made this decision that it is Adin Hill in net, and is it the right move in your opinion?
Yeah, I guess I would say I was mildly surprised. I do think I was expecting Logan Thompson to keep the net. Obviously, he played really well in those 2 games in Vegas despite losing them, but I do think that, I always had it in the back of my mind that eventually they will go to Adin Hill, because I just think that Bruce Cassidy and goalie coach Sean Burke are more comfortable with Adin Hill in the net. He is a more traditional positional goalie, and to be honest, that style of goalie, I think, plays a little better behind this Vegas defense that allows shots from the outside. Having said that, Logan Thompson was very good. He leads the entire playoffs in goals saved above expected, so he certainly didn't do anything to lose the net. I think this is a case of, you look down the stretch, and Adin Hill was injured, and he didn't play all that well when he came back from the injury, but Bruce Cassidy was giving him every opportunity to try to win the net back. You could just get the sense that he feels a little more comfortable with Adin in net. So we'll see how he looks tonight. Like I said, Adin did not look great down the stretch. When he's on, I think Adin is the better goalie. I think if you took both Thompson and Hill at their best, Adin is the better goalie, but he hasn't been at his best for a very long time, since early in the season when he was leading the league in save percentage. So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of form he's in. It's a bold move from Cassidy, especially with Thompson playing the way he is. And that's not the only bold move he made. I mean, he changed 3 of the 4 forward lines have a new look tonight. He put Evgeny Dadonov in there, and 2 of the 3 defensive pairs are also switched. So this Golden Knights team is going to look a lot different from the one we saw Game 4 in Vegas. We'll see if all these moves pay off.
Yeah, Jesse, that's what I wanted to get into. The wholesale changes with these shifts. What are we expecting? Are there changes that you like with some of the pairings that they put out there? It seems on the surface that you're pretty top-heavy with your front line, no?
It is. So you move Ivan Barbashev down to the 4th line, and the beauty of Ivan Barbashev is he's got the skill to play with talented offensive players like Eichel and Marchessault, and he can score when you get him the puck in front of the net. But he also is the fast, physical, forechecking guy that can play on the 4th line. So I think he fits either line. To me, this is trying to get Tomas Hertl going. They acquired Hertl at the deadline. He was coming off the knee surgery. He hadn't played in months. It's a new team. You don't have a big runway to get going, and all of a sudden you're playing playoff hockey. Not the easiest environment to get your game going. He hasn't looked great at 5-on-5. I think on the power play he's been very good, but at 5-on-5 he hasn't looked himself. And I think this is their attempt to try to get him going. You put him with Eichel and Marchessault, who to me have been the 2 best forwards on this team in the playoffs so far. So, and I also think I was talking to Hertl this morning, and he mentioned they need to possess the puck a little more in the offensive zone. If you look at the numbers in this series, Dallas has had the puck in the offensive zone a lot, far too much for Vegas' liking. So he was telling me this morning, we don't want to try to take that first pass and try to score on the rush every time. Maybe gain the zone, turn back, hold the puck against the wall a little bit, look for a better shot. And I think that that's Hertl's specialty. He's great at holding the puck below the goal line. I expect that first line of Eichel, Marchessault, and Hertl, instead of trying to score in transition the way they have over the first few games, I expect to see them play a little bit more of a possession game. So I think Hertl on that line definitely gives you a little bit more of that. So we'll see how it works.
Game 5 between the Dallas Stars and the Vegas Golden Knights coming up at 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 local there in Dallas. The Stars right now, depending on where you look, we'll call it around a -155 favorite, where on the other side, Vegas, you can get as high as around +136 to win this game. I want to call it simple, but you think about how this series has gone, Jesse, so far. Vegas goes down to Dallas. They're an underdog in the series. They wins game 1 and 2. They come back home. They force overtime, double overtime, lose game 3, and then lose 4-2 in game 4. So home ice has not meant a whole lot so far in this series. Does this unusual trend continue tonight? Does Vegas take that 3-2 lead, in your opinion?
To me, it's going to come down to Jake Ottinger. To me, he has been the difference in this series, in both directions. I think in the 2 games in Dallas, he didn't look good. And to be honest, it's a troubling trend for him. You go back to last year's Western Conference Final, he did not play well against this Vegas team. In the regular season, he lost both games against Vegas. And now in the first 2 games, he looked bad. I thought he really found his game up in Vegas, and especially that third period of Game 4. Vegas had the puck the whole time. They couldn't get one by him. He looked more confident. He was playing at the top of his crease. To me, he looked like a different goalie, and to be honest, he's a really talented goalie. He looked more like himself. So to me, if that's a sign that he found his game, Vegas is in trouble because Dallas has controlled the play at 5-on-5. They've had the better of the chances. They've had better of the possession. The only reason Vegas is in this series to begin with is because they've scored on an incredibly high percentage of their chances because Ottinger hasn't played well. If he found his game, the Stars are going to be tough to beat. And my guess right now is he has found his game. So I'll say that the streak of home teams losing every game ends tonight.
All right, one of the big names, of course, is going to be Mark Stone for Vegas. 1 goal in the 4 games. They're -3 with him on the ice. Is he healthy? What's your expectation for him now on the second line?
Yeah, I mean, he has, you know what, similarly to Hertl, they're both coming off of injuries. They're both coming off surgeries. They hadn't had a lot of time to get going. They look a little slow at 5-on-5. And Mark Stone isn't, even when he's at his best, he's not a fast player. That's not the strength of his game. But he just has, the timing hasn't been there for him. I think he's healthy enough to play. I don't know if his game is in shape, though. I don't know if he's such a smart, cerebral player. Timing is everything for Mark Stone. And it just seems like the timing is a little off for him. They're going to need him to step up big. I think Pavel Dorofeyev can help that line a lot. He hasn't played in the playoffs yet. He was a great goal scorer for him in the regular season. He plays a real simple game. He goes to the front of the net, and he puts pucks in when the puck gets around the crease. I think Stevenson and Stone are great playmakers. I think Pavel's a better fit on that line than what we've seen. So if there's a chance to get Mark Stone going, I think tonight is a good chance for it because, like I said, I think Pavel can help that line with a little bit of speed and a little bit of power in front.
Jesse Granger covers the Golden Knights. He's down there in Dallas with game number 5 tonight. Last one from me. We mentioned, and we'll go back to where we started with Adin Hill taking over for Logan Thompson. Last time we saw him, the regular season finale in that game against Anaheim, where if the Golden Knights win, they're the 3 seed. Instead, they lose it, and they end up going and taking on the Dallas Stars. He allowed 3 goals on 22 shots. We have not seen him for, 2 weeks? Should we expect from Adin Hill? And the old classic question, are we going to see any rust from Adin Hill between the pipes tonight?
Yeah, he did not play well in that game. Not just the goals, the amount of goals, but you watch the goals back, and they were soft goals. Goals you wouldn't expect a goalie of Adin Hill's caliber to let in. So it's been a while. Having said that, I do think that sometimes with goalies, we're weird, man. You just have to find a rhythm, and this guy was on fire in the playoffs last year. His best series on that run to the Cup, the best he played was against the Dallas Stars. So I do think that for a guy that the second half of the season did not go his way, he had multiple injuries. Every time he tried to come back, it seemed like he re-aggravated the injury. When he was healthy, he didn't play well. I think for someone that needs something to go right, I think getting back into the playoffs against a team like Dallas that you've had a lot of success, there are some things that he can kind of try to use to build on. I think it's going to be important for Vegas in the first period to protect him well. They have got to give him some easy touches, give him some shots from the outside, let him feel the puck. He can't face a 2-on-1 in the opening 5 minutes. It's not going to be. I feel like that's a recipe for disaster. If they can ease him into this game, get him confident, let him maybe start feeling a little bit of that hot streak he had last year. When he's at his best, Adin Hill is really, really good. He's a big goalie that moves well for his size. So I personally have no idea what to expect from Adin Hill. I think it could go either way. It should be fun to see what happens.
Jesse, great stuff, man. We appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
Yep, thanks for having me, guys.
There he is, Jesse Granger, who, rumor has it, plays a little goalie himself, too.
Yes. I've had one officiated boxing match, as we have discussed before.
1-0.
Yep, I'm 1-0. I also have one start in net in a roller hockey league out here in Las Vegas. Started in an emergency. First save, good, but my save percentage, I think, is probably like 0.17. Probably about that. That's putting it lightly. Strongly, actually. Yeah, that's probably beefing that up. There's some 16-year-old kid, man, not even that young, or not even that old. He was showing off. He was doing all sorts of stuff. His mom was in the stands, like, cheering for him and, like, screaming. It wasn't great.
Did he do the Pat Bev on you? He's like, too small.
He did a lot.
Goalie's too small.
Luckily, somebody screamed from the sidelines. It's his first game in goal. Relax. So somebody stuck up for me.
Hopefully no one's screaming that down there in Dallas. Stars, Golden Knights. That game coming up at 7:30 Eastern. Aiden Hill. Last time he faced the Stars in the playoffs, got a shutout. Just saying.